Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, spring break has arrived. I've had a lot of questions in the last couple of weeks on what I was planning on doing for some of my bigger spring projects from some YouTube comments and friends of mine in the bonsai world. And this one has come to mind as the first big project I want to do on spring break. Now, the challenging part of spring break this year is after a season of absolutely no snow and really warm temperatures, we have 3 or 4 or 5 days of potential snow during my spring break. So you can bet I'm going to be right here in the PSGF working on trees, regardless of what it does outside. What we're looking at here is the Minnesota Forest number 2. So when I made this forest, I had one thing mainly in mind. I wanted some pine trees in the back row for that green year-round evergreen look, right? And in the front, I wanted all the trees, and I wanted poplar trees if I could, because there's a spot up at the cabin. When we go to the cabin where there's all kinds of pines. There's poplars in front. You have the white trunks eventually, the lighter trunks that can pop from the green in the background. But the lime green, really light green leaves at first when they pop out against the darker green evergreen is wonderful. And then, of course, in the fall, we have all the leaves on a poplar tree that typically turn a really nice yellow color. So that's what I was hoping for. Dwarf Alberta spruce to be our evergreen background. And then it's just a matter of putting in all my trees that have been chopped and cut and are small and big. Oh, let's put the maple in next. I figure if we put that right over there, and then I've got all these various pots with poplars in them at various stages. There we have the potential of an early forest. And I've had some problems with the forest. So we have the dwarf Alberta spruces back here. Here's one of the original poplars back here. I believe this is a maple tree, not a poplar anymore. And these guys, the 3 up here and this one, is actually a Siberian elm tree. Well, 4 of them. And so it's almost ready for a mini forest of its own. And then back here, I think this is also a maple. I don't believe this is a poplar or a quaking aspen. But I've been collecting trees up at the cabin, and so I'm hoping to rearrange this today. This is a beast to carry. So these rocks here are certainly going to come off for right now. So we can carry this a little bit easier. I love this slate look of these rocks, but we may have to reconsider if we put those back on. Over on the left side of the forest, I'm going to leave the back dwarf Albertas, and I'm going to bring one over to the left from the right side. But I got to get rid of these trees. Now this one, this might end up just going into a miscellaneous forest at a future time if this is a maple, which I believe it is. We'll see. But I'm going to take out this elm because we're going to put that in another tree. I really like the shape of this elm. It's turning into a tree that might look really good on its own, but let's get it out of here. Now the challenging part of getting a forest into separate pieces parts is this was wired in a couple of years ago. And I don't know what was wired in when, and this wasn't an original tree, so did I just place this in here, or did I have a couple of extra wires that I could wire this and make it secure in the forest? So we have loose pieces of wire here and there, and we have some old trunks and some roots. I'll draw your attention now to the bottom of this tree. Look at all these roots under here. This is going the length of this pot right here. I don't know if this is coming from these trees over here or if this connects to this tree or an old tree. They look like viable roots. But yeah, this is quite a system of roots here. Now, if it's connected to this tree, I know we'll be getting rid of a lot of those roots and putting it into some kind of new pot. So I could start snipping away to make it a little bit easier to get this out of here. And then I've got a root structure from over there. So I think I'm going to do that. Let's cut these roots. These roots are coming from right here, way over here. And I'm just going to take that off right there. That's a lot of long roots that we do not need from this tree or any tree over there. And then I don't know, this one's going way back over here. I can cut that one. I see this is going back in here. And there we go. Oh, and there is a wire too right there. So we'll leave these wires here in case we can connect them, if we have any of that need. And we're going to keep working at this. There's a lot of roots in here. We've discovered a few more of the wires. We also have some really long roots in here. There we go. There we go. So look at that root structure on that elm. We got a lot of fun gnarly roots there for sure. That could be a fun exposed root tree. Look at all that exposed root. Or we have roots on multiple planes that we're going to have to clean up. So we're going to get this into some dirt and keep it moist because I'm not sure what's going to happen with this tree first. So what a fantastic pile of roots there. We've got a tree that still has plenty of viable roots. So if that was connected to the other stump, which was an old part of this quaking aspen from up at the cabin, but it's got one thick root going way back there. We don't want those thick roots anyway, so I'm going to go as deep as I can, and there we go. I pulled that up. And now we can carefully, there we go. So we have some fine fibrous roots there. We have some left over here, not too bad, that I think we can keep. And we can plant this right back in this planting because this, I'm guessing then, is a quakin because of, well, the look of the bark a little bit, but because it was close to that stump, I don't know if it was connected right there. Now, if it was connected right there, that's where I just ripped it out. And that looks pretty fresh. And we would flatten that out anyway. And I think we'll take this root off. Now we'll leave it there for now. We got to leave as many roots as we can. We're going to put that in a bucket of dirt too and keep that moist. So we have no more trees yet, but a whole bunch of roots. And then we have our trees back here and they're wired in. So we're going to have to keep digging and seeing if we can find some more of these exposed wires and dig them up and cut them out. Like there's a wire right there. So we'll keep doing that and we'll see what's going to be next for this forest redo. There, wow. We have a big tree out of there with a lot of roots. So if I'm going to make a forest planting, I'm going to certainly have to cut off some of these bigger roots and get this thing down to size. So we have the twin trunk out successfully. So that's going to be the first one set aside. I got to get this other one out over here, and then way over here we got this guy too. So we'll get those out, and then we'll reposition these trees on the stand or the pot. The trees have all been successfully taken out of the big jumbo boot tray pot that I made several years ago. Incidentally, if you want to see how I put this pot together, go ahead and check it out in the description below. A link to it. Maybe I'll put that up there in the corner, one of the corners, you know, for you to look at. If I remember to do that, I always forget. But we have a nice boot tray, super thick boot tray. Love this one. Cut a whole bunch of holes into this guy. And then the actual pot, I had all these slats down below to keep this thing nice and strong so that wouldn't bend and bow. And you can see, if you can see all the holes in here, I had all kinds of wires in there holding this the pot to this frame, and also making sure that the trees wouldn't go anywhere. So this time around, I don't think I'm gonna wire at all. I think I'm gonna plant this forest like I've been lately. We're just gonna put it in here, and then we're gonna have rocks and heavy things to hold it down for the first year or so, and then we can take those rocks away unless we want it as part of the design. So I'm gonna go ahead and put down some screen. Now I have got these from a friend from Minnesota Bonsai Society, thanks to my friend Michael. And this fits perfectly from side to side. I can get 3 or 4 of these in here, probably just 3. As long as I cover up those drain holes, we are in good shape. And with those in here, we have covered the drain holes. And then I'm going to put a layer of bigs on the bottom. So we'll put some big Akadama pumice on the bottom, just one layer to hold the mesh in place, and then we can plant our trees. There we have a nice layer of the bigs on the bottom, just a nice little row to keep all that mesh down to the bottom. And then we're going to put some of our trees on here and think about how we're going to plant this forest. So before dinner time, I hope I can get the pine trees in, and then we might take a little break. So let's get those pine trees over here and see what we got. So here we have our 3 trees. We have the big tall one, which I think I'll put up in the front here. We have our twin trunk that's going to be nestled in back there, I think. And then we'll put this guy off to the back right here. And we will have a really nice clump of 3 trees, but we've got 4 because of that twin trunk. But I think that'll be okay. I'm not going to worry about that too much, because we're going to have a whole bunch of trees in here. So this is just some of the trees. And so if we get this over in here, we had 1 over here and 2 back over here. Now we're going to have them super close together, and we'll get these things in here and put some rocks on here and hold them into place. So let me get my supplies, and we will look at that. I'll stand back and see what I'm liking best. The first thing I have to do is to make sure I have all these roots where I want them before I put them in the planting, because they probably won't be taken out again for a number of years. So these might grow together from here on out, and I won't have the chance to sort out these roots anymore. So first I got to sort out some roots. As I continue to clean out some of these roots of these dwarf Alberta spruce, a big thanks to everybody who commented on my question about bare rooting and washing off the pine trees. So got a nice little mix of response. Some people have washed their pine roots or bare rooted their pines. Most people do not. That still seems to be the consensus. And one of the best benefits for these pine trees, if we do have mycorrhiza on there, it's just going to benefit the trees greatly. And one person even commented that we can't even really wash that off. It's attached to the roots. It's really what helps bring the nutrients to the roots and to the tree. So it's a great pairing, 2 parts of nature that help each other out. In our pine trees, of course, probably get most of the benefit there that I'm aware of, but that's a nice host for the mycorrhiza to hang out at. So we have a little bit bigger root structure here. Look at that. We have this kind of funky little curve to this, and a little bit different Nabari looking than before. We're going to keep going. We got 1 more tree. This is the biggest one by far. And we'll see if we can plant ourselves our first part of Minnesota Forest number 2. One of the other comments that was made about the mycorrhiza and bare rooting some pine trees, I thought was a nice addition to the comments was, with older, more mature trees, you probably don't want to mess with that mycorrhiza if it's been forming on there. Young, early nursery stock trees, if you're doing more of that clearing off, you might be okay, might be better with those young trees, but as they start to get older and more mature, you probably don't want to be messing with those roots at that level and getting rid of some of that mycorrhiza and washing your roots. But again, that's from people out there throwing their 2 cents worth, and I do appreciate the mature conversation back and forth and people taking care of each other and just giving their thoughts on it based on their experience and what they've heard, what they've learned, and fantastic. That's just awesome. Now I love this one because of this gnarly root here, but I don't know if I want to keep that gnarly root. I do like exposed roots in the forests that I walk on, so I'm going to take that one off right there. Look at that. That's just going to create, that gnarly wraparound root that I don't want. There's going to be so many trees in this forest. If I can have some exposed roots, that'll be fantastic. But that bigger one I wanted to just kind of get rid of. and we'll continue to work on this root structure. Our first one is going to be the twin trunk. We have the smaller side over there. We're going to put that one right there, back in the corner of this forest, right there. So this one we have a little bit of a tree, a branch that goes over there, roots coming over here towards the left. So I think we'll put that one kind of right there. One of the biggest mistakes most people make with their forests is they'll put trees too evenly spaced apart. And so we have trees that are equal distance left and right, front and back, and we want the trees to really kind of have a little bit of asymmetrical, kind of like our bonsai trees. And so I don't want this to look too much like a triangle. So I've got this twin trunk back here, so I want to squeeze this one, I think, a little bit closer over here. And if I have this gap over here, that's fine. Because then there's a big gap over here, but then there's these two pine trees right here, and that works out okay. So let us take a little step back here and kind of see what you're all seeing from the front of this. We've got that pine tree in the back, the big tall one up front here. I think we'll twist this one a little bit more and angle it a little bit more facing out. I think I like that better. I can stuff some soil in there to keep that down that way. And that one can be straight up in the back. Now, I will have some trees out front here. This won't be solo, so I might be able to push everything back just a tad. And I still think it looks a little bit like a triangle. From your angle, it's a little bit more this way, so it looks better. Yeah, that looks better too, because from head on, I got the tray a little bit slanted, but from head on, yeah, these two are closer together, and there's a little bit of a gap right here, almost like a walking path right there. So I like that there a little bit better. We'll get these roots down here and some soil holding those roots in. Again, put a little bit of water on here just to make them hold into place a little bit better. And keep those roots nice and hydrated. There we go. Got this dead branch over here, a little bit of heaviness up here now. I think I twisted the tree a little bit to show that off, and I think that looks just fine. We can cut some more of these branches when we trim this tree. So this one's leaning out a little bit, this one's leaning this way, and this one's straight up. I want these two trees to be kind of the same lean. And again, I'm going to push these both back a little bit in the forest. There we go. And we're going to lean them forward a little bit more now. Here we go. Now the trees are holding pretty good on their own, but I'm going to go ahead and put this right here. Right there. I got a couple more rocks in here. I just want to make sure that this is going to stay nice and true. We're not going to lift this thing out of here anytime soon. So these are going to hold this into place while we work on the rest of the forest. Yeah, we have three tall, gnarly trees in the background. They used to be spread out more. It was too symmetrical in the back, and I knew that pretty soon after I planted it. We've got this twin trunk back here, so when you're down lower, you can see all that. We might bring this, all of the foliage up, so these are more older looking, majestic, tall trees. They are now sitting in some wet soil. We've got some rocks in place, and I think we are good with part one of Minnesota Forest, the rebirth. Get those roots all nice and wet. And then we're going to have to now take stock at what's going to be next. What will I put right here? And how many poplars do I have for right here? So we'll come back with that in just a moment, of course. It's about a half an hour before sunset. It's an overcast day, so we have brilliant lighting for videotaping. So nice when it's overcast. Not a lot of contrasty shadows and stuff. The first part of Minnesota Forest number 2 is done in there. And as the snow literally just starts to fall of wave 1 of the storms coming, I need to get these black spruces out of this big pot. So these were collected 2 years ago up at the bogs in Minnesota, and they've been in this big crate. I need to get all of these out and then back into the warm PSGF to plant to the back right corner with this tall black spruce forest. So 2 different tree types, but I'm gonna go for it and put them together. So let's get these out of here and bring them in where it's warmer. The fact that they came out in a forest is a good sign because they've rooted and they've taken hold of each other. Now I was a little nervous that they didn't thaw out in time for me to film this, and there's a couple of chunky spots, but we'll get this into the warm PSGF and we'll be able to clean the rest of these roots out and make some things happen here. We're back in the warm PSGF, and I've got Forest Trees Part 2. So again, black spruces growing side by side with the larch in the swamps of northern Minnesota. That'll be on this side of the forest, and that'll be more swampy. So this will be the swampy section, if you will, and we'll have these trees in the back lined up real close together, and we have these 2 converging forests, and then we're going to have poplars going down here. These trees do not back bud very well. They do back bud a little bit where there's growth, but back down here that'll probably never happen. So we'll have these really tall pine trees. On the way up to my cabin again, a lot of things we see is these really tall trees on the side of roads, and they just kind of have big tall forests where all the broken branches all the way up, so we just leave those on there, and we're just going to grow up, make them get nice and tall. So we're going to put this side of the forest together right now and then call it a night. So I think I've got one other dead one here. It's this guy right here. Yeah, he didn't make it. Okay. So we have 2 main trees, so we're going to dig those out first, and we're going to see what we got for roots. And these are, they were pulled out of the bogs, the exact same location, and they were all together already. All right, so it looks like I have some really high root structures and I have some low root structures, so we're going to have to do some cutting here and hope for the best. So I definitely want to cut this right here, right off the get-go. We need to get rid of that here. And that gets rid of an awful lot of roots. We're going to leave the rest intact and put this in here and hope for survival. Nice fine roots here though. And there's tree number 1. And then tree number 2. Yeah, we have a bit of a taproot down here as well. We're going to get that off. And here we go. And then this really looks like a healthy tree. We have really good roots all the way around this tree. So this one, and it is the biggest. It was probably the healthiest when it came up when I collected it. But look at that. Pretty decent radial root pattern around this tree, except for this side a little bit lacking. Well, there we got most of the old bigs. These were big, a little bit of akadama, but mostly pumice for the healing process. And I think we still have a little bit of a taproot that we can just completely get rid of. There we go. All right, so we have our 2 main trees, and we're going to go ahead and see where those might go, right? I think they're going to go real nice and snug together, and we'll cut off the branches that just don't work together. They kind of go really nice side by side right here if I twist it here. I kind of like those together. We're gonna intertwine these branches on purpose just to hold them together, so I don't have to sit here and hold on to the trees that much. And there we go. I think that's a good start to this forest here. We'll have this, I think, more over here, and we'll have trees trailing off that way with maybe a couple over here. Okay, I'm going to step back with you all and kind of see what we're looking at. So they crisscross in the back a little bit, so I don't want them to crisscross, so we'll make a movement there when we're getting towards our final design here. Here we go. We have 4 more trees, so 4 and 2 is 6, which again is an even number. However, we have 3 over here, so 6 and 3 is 9. So far we're at 9. This tree did not make it. So we have this really skinny one that we might put back here, right, just as this kind of survivor. And then we are going to go off to this side, I think. And so we'll cut these roots here, and we'll see where we can place them. Now all these trees have a taproot because they grow in the swampy areas of northern Minnesota, and so in the springtime the water is real high, and then in the summertime it starts to dry out a little bit, but those taproots reach way down. Then you have multiple layers, multiple planes of roots. So we've got a pretty decent 360 here of roots. Very nice. We're going to hope that survives this repot here. I'm not going to go too crazy with the roots. So we only have 4 trees again here. So we've got, I think we'll have this big tall one in back. And this one right here, maybe with the branch going off to the right. We'll kind of get these close together here. And they'll like each other right here, I think, just fine. Okay. So I don't like the way these 2 trees are bowing like this. They're bowing together. We got to twist that tree so they bend the same direction. So they're kind of bowing this way. So I'm not liking that. It does have quite a lean to it, as I see now when I pull it out. It's kind of now coming, it's swooping to the front. So I'm wondering if that should be the back tree. And put this one up front. I'm already going to mess with this a little bit. Let's get this back here, this way leaning back, and this one kind of this front tree. Now usually we have the big tree right in front to see all the glory, but maybe this one is going to have to be the front one here because we like the way it looks just a little bit better. Yeah, see, that's better already. Now they're super close together, which is really cool though, because I can kind of see them head on. I can kind of see that back tree to the left just peeking around the corner. So we can move that just maybe ever so slightly. There we go, like that. All right. Okay, we're going to keep that there. Keep that there. Keep that over there maybe. Okay, so it's leaning again a little bit. We'll fix those. We'll fix those. And I got to find this guy here. Now again, I don't want to make anything super symmetrical, but can this one be up close and personal with this threesome, and we got these 2 off to the side? Kind of going off that back side a little bit. Let's get these intertwined again so they hold each other up. There we go. Let's come back and look at this. I love forests. Can you tell? I love doing this. This is fantastic. Okay, we're close. Now that back one's leaning too much to the left. I like those actually leaning off to the right a little bit, but this one I want to move in a little bit closer. So good. But now we have a threesome, but kind of 4, and then we have a threesome and a twosome, and I have that last little tiny one. But I like this. I like this right now. I want to put it close to the other tree because I don't want it to be too much like this forest over here. Oh yeah, look at that depth. Got that little tiny one back there. You can't even see any growth on there, but outside, It's going to get sun all the way around, but that little tree back there gives us some depth. I hope that one survives. I love this back here. Thin after the two thick ones here and a medium one there, and it's, oh, that's really nice. Now these look a little top heavy up here, so we'll be cleaning some of that out, of course. And then we got to move this so these don't look quite so leaning. We want them to be a part of the forest. Minnesota Forest 2, the black spruce section compared to the Alberta spruces. And the only question, of course, is does that leave any room for the other trees? Will it be too overcrowded? But you know, forests are crowded. It's a whole bunch of trees, right? And we've got a nice display. This is a really fun forest for me right the way it is now. So if we put in the next trees in tomorrow and we're just not liking it or it's too crowded, well, perhaps we change it up a little bit. I think we have to call it a night. We just need to let this sit. And we'll come back tomorrow when there's snow on the ground. After the snow hits, we'll come in here and see if we can get these poplar trees in place. Oh, this is fun. I love forests. This was great. Time to get a good night's sleep before round one of the snowstorm comes.